Good afternoon, everyone. How are you guys doing today? I am Coach Keon Smith, and it's a privilege to be reaching with you guys today. And I'm going to be talking about smart spending. So I'm just going to give it some time. I know some persons are now tuning in. We are scheduled to start at 1 p.m. So I'm just going to give persons another minute or two to get themselves together. I would encourage you, those who are tuning in already, to please go grab a pen, grab your notebook, or have your notepad on your cell phones ready. We are going to have some fun today learning, but I would also love you to have some takeaways from our session today where you can actually start putting some things into practice when it comes to smart spending. So at this time, I'd just like to say a big thank you to the Youth Ambassadors 2015, especially Ashraf, for reaching out with this opportunity. I love sharing what I know. I love talking to young people, especially providing them with more knowledge, more education, because I simply believe that the more they're exposed to these information, the faster they can grow, which means the more they're learning. So the persons who are on our social media platforms, please be sure to like, love, and share this video. The youth ambassadors, they're doing a fantastic job. We had previous speakers who spoke about wellness, spoke about being in quarantine. Great advice from those speakers. So I want to encourage you to tune in as often as you can to listen to these nuggets of information as they continue to share them with you. So thank you guys very much for this opportunity. So whilst persons are still coming on the call, we did promise we're going to start. So we all know that the COVID-19 or this pandemic that we're facing, it is as real as it possibly can get. So very first of all, for the persons listening, this is real. This is actually happening. And what COVID-19 has done, it has changed the way that we normally go about our day to day activities, our day to day tasks. So, first of all, there is not going to be anything like it's going to get back to normal. We are going to experience what we call a new normal. So, we have to work on ways, adapt different ways that we can continue to survive and then thrive after COVID 19. Now, I understand that it has, in many ways, have a devastating effect and impact on the economics of our countries, of the world, and more personally, the economics of us as individuals, which means that our spending or access to income is not as flowing as it used to be, for the want of a better term. Whether it is through our jobs, we might have, some of us might have been laid off, which is a fact. We've had a cut in hours, we've had reduction in salaries happening at companies in and across Guyana because everybody's trying to find a way to make sure that they can also survive. In fact, we've had a reduction in the remittances coming in from overseas because persons are not working as they used to and they don't have access to send money as they would have done before. So I want to say good afternoon to the youth ambassadors that are tuned in. I am seeing Andre Romaldo is tuned in. Thank you. Hello, Andre. A great video that you did as well. Very informative. So we have to take stock that because this is real, this is upon us, we have to devise different ways that we can make sure that we survive as individuals. So today I'm going to specifically be talking about how do we engage in smart spending. I'm going to be sharing with you 9 different ways that we can engage in smart spending. And I would like you to make sure you take as much notes as possible to determine what is applicable and what you can implement almost immediately. So we're going to get started into those 9 ways. I'm going to ask you guys if you have Any other suggestions that you like to share with the viewers, please feel free to send it in the chat box. I will make sure that I keep my eyes on that as well so I can share your views and your comments. Um, I'm going to look to have a challenge coming out at the end of this session. They've given me just about 30 minutes. I want to make sure that I'm able to cover all of the content within that time. So, first of all, first thing that I want to share with you when it comes to this pandemic and smart spending, the first thing that we need to do is to make sure that we stay calm and we evaluate our situation. Number one, stay calm and evaluate your situation. Now, staying calm might seem like, oh, the obvious or one of the responses that people would normally give. But the fact is, if you get into a state of panic and you're worrying more than anything else, it reduces your ability to think logically. Now, yes, we need to be concerned about what is happening, concerned about our income. We have to also ensure that we can manage our anxiety, especially if there are people around you that are looking up to you, that are probably dependent on you. They're going to be looking to you for that source of strength and leadership. So we want to make sure, first of all, that we stay as calm as possible, reduce the instances where we become confuffled by what is happening, and then we start doing all kind of crazy things. We need to then evaluate what is currently happening. So take a look at your current income or your current sources of income and determine how is this going to help me to survive? What do I need to survive? So what do you need to do is to make sure that you have a pen and a paper ready, because I often believe a short pencil is better than a long memory. Make notes, write on as much as you can, where you need to calculate what you currently have so you can know your income level, and then you write down all of your possible expenses, whether it be if you have to pay rent, transportation of persons that are still currently working. Definitely food is a must, because we need to make sure that we keep our immune systems as healthy as possible. So evaluate the current expenses that you have before you're able to make a decision. Number two, this is where you need to prioritize. Number two, you need to prioritize. So after you evaluate your income and your expenditure to know what it is you need to get done, you then need to arrange those expenses on a scale of a preference, which means what a priority versus what you can actually scale back on. So definitely when it comes to food, your health, probably paying your rent, these are priority items that you need to have at the top of your list. We can scale back on some of the luxury activities and items, probably maybe such as doing our hair, probably going just driving around all over the place. We know that gas is a bit cheaper, but we still need to make sure that we prioritize on our activities, which means doing your nails, you're home, you're in quarantine. Yes, you need to take care of yourself, but then you still need to prioritize on your expenses as well. So setting those priorities can be done if you are an individual living by yourself, then you will know what those priorities are. If you're part of a family, then you should have this done in consultation with your significant other, with your parents, depending on the type of family setting that you have. Very, very important for you to make sure that you work together so that you can determine what are the priorities for the family, or as an individual, what are your priorities? What do you need to make sure that you have money for, and what you can actually scale back on? Number three, and I'm going to try to be cool and use, some of the young slang, get a side hustle. Now, let me put that in the context that persons out there would understand. This COVID 19 has provided us with a very, very unique opportunity. Instead of seeing this as downtime where you have nothing to do, you're bored all day, you're investing all of your time on social media. And when I say investing your time on social media, not productively, you're scrolling through looking at memes, and then you're probably causing trouble. Use the time that you have now to invest in learning a new skill or enhancing a skill, which means take some time to reflect and determine what are some of the skills that you have. You might be really good at knitting, which means that you can then knit centers for tables, you can knit chair backs, you can knit face mask. I saw there's one person who's making a face mask by knitting it. So I think it's really, really good to determine what hidden skill do you have. You might have a culinary skill that you didn't even know that you have. You might have the ability to bake really well. And what I've noticed that is trending right now is many persons are putting out their culinary skills on Facebook. There's a competition right now with the best plate. Persons are having baking competition. So determine what would be something that you can focus on right now that allows you to use the time that you have at home to actually generate income. Whether we want to run from it or not, food is a necessity. So persons, especially those services that are necessity right now, people still need to eat. They might be more busy than anything else. So how can we have that side hustle, as we call it, that can help us to generate an additional income using the skills we already have? In addition to that, you can use the internet. You can have a University of Google. You can have YouTube Academy that can teach you so many different skills, or you can use to add to your current skills. So very, very important. I'm just loving the comments. Thank you guys very much. Brenda, Cassius, I'm going to work on keeping the information flowing as best as I can. So use your skill. Now, people might say, but Keon, you can't really go out and execute your side hustle. That's where you're putting limitations on yourself. You can, in fact, use your current network. You have friends, families, acquaintances. You have the ambassador network. If you put out that, hey guys, I am making these cupcakes. I have them for sale. They can be delivered. I am sure you will get some form of patronage from your network. So don't say that you can't do it. Just find a way to get it done. We often believe, as coaches, that there are always 1,001 ways to solve one problem. So identify what is the one way that can actually work for you. Next, number four, we want to be consistent. So I'm going to show you guys today how to create your budget. We spoke a little bit about, but I want to leave that to the end. And when you create this budget, you would need to make sure that you consistently pay attention to your finances, which means you can't only just create the budget, write it down, and leave it there in a corner. You need to be very, very consistent in checking what's left. So, point number four, you need to be consistent with reviewing your budget. So, when that happens, when you're reviewing your budget, it helps you to determine how your spending is going. And I would like to encourage you to make note of everything that you spend on. We might be surprised to know that we might go buy something small for $100. We might give somebody another $200. We might buy a water for $120. And we don't take note of these, what we call mini or minute spending. And you know what end up happening? That is where our money flows out. So it is very important to make note of those spendings, because you might have some amount of money and you're not exactly sure how did it go down, because your mind is focused on the larger spending, the chunks of where you spend the money. But the small spending, trust me, it eats out at your income. So you want to be very, very mindful of that and make sure that you keep track of all of your spending. Again, you might be saying, Keon, that's absolutely crazy. Do I have to walk with a pen and a book to write on everything that I spend on? Not necessarily. If you want to, there are some people who definitely will do that, who do that. But what I would encourage you to do at the end of the day, you can sit down in your quiet moment, and then you can just make note of what you spend on. You might miss one or two things, but you will capture the majority. If you're very tech savvy, use the note function on your cell phones. Take note of what you spend on. You can use Google Keep on your cell phone as well to keep track of what you've actually spent on. So consistency in documenting and in following your budget is going to be ideal, especially in this pandemic, to make sure that you don't spend on things that are not priority, or reduce rather the spending on things that are not priority. Tip number five, and this is only if it's absolutely necessary, you can then negotiate with some of your suppliers. You can negotiate probably with your landlord to either have a delay in the payment of your rent. You can ask them to probably split the rent into based on your income, on the income level that you're currently having now. You can probably use your security deposit that you've paid on for your rent as payment for this current month's rent. But it all depends on the relationship that you have with your supplier, with probably your landlord, or whoever it is that you owe. These are the lenders, so that you can negotiate what relief they can actually offer to you. Now, I'm not saying to go tell your landlord, well, I listened to Coach Keon today and he said that you have to uh, take off my rent for this month. That's not what I'm saying. Negotiate. It means that there will be some compromise happening where you find a common ground as to what both of you would actually agree on. So I'm seeing that Roshini, if I got it correctly, find it useful to make a budget and stick to it as much as possible. That way, I don't overspend. That's absolutely correct, Roshini. As much as you can stick to your budget, yes, we are all humans and we will vary at different times from our budget. Things will come up. But as much as you can stick to your budget, trust me, it will be very, very beneficial to you as an individual and even to your family. Number six, and this is where I'm gonna ask you guys, so forget pride and seek assistance. Many of us, and I dare say, especially our male counterparts, they we have pride, and I'm gonna be very inclusive here today. Don't want to take myself out. We have pride, which means that when we're faced with situations, we prefer not to ask for assistance. We would work in the background as quietly as possible to make sure that we can stand up to our responsibilities. In this time where this pandemic is happening, we sometimes need to put aside that pride. And if it is that we need to seek assistance, then we can do so in the most calm and professional manner. But don't be afraid to seek assistance. I know sometimes it can be embarrassing, but when it comes to what is happening right now, you may not be fortunate to have income set aside. You may have experienced a cut in your income due to either job layoff or reduction in hours. I would say as much if you do have the opportunity or resources to get assistance, I would say go ahead, put aside that pride. And on that note, as we speak about item number seven, having an emergency fund. Now, I know that some of us may have had an emergency fund. Some of us has never even put aside for what we call a rainy day, because some people believe in living for today. My encouragement to you, whether it's now or even after COVID-19, is to make sure that you have an emergency fund. Now, that emergency fund should be about 3 to 6 months value of your current living expenses, which means if you add up your living expenses between your rent, food, transportation, etc., and it amounts to about $100,000, you need to start working on building your emergency fund that you can have as savings between 300,000 to about $600,000, give and take, to prepare for any emergencies. These things don't tell us when it's coming. There's no forewarning. You don't get an email 6 months in advance that says, "Oh, I'm COVID-19. I'm coming to Guyana." We don't get those warnings, so we just need to work on preparing as much as possible. And what I'm going to do in the next point is to help you understand how you can actually put together your savings. Many times we focus on the what needs to get done, but today I want to also share the how, because I believe the how is extremely critical in us actually implementing the strategies and the lessons that we hear and we learn as we continue to grow. So, in order to get an emergency fund, step number nine becomes save as much as you possibly can. Now, many persons they have a reverse notion. Persons tend to spend first and save after. Let me explain what I mean. You know that you have your obligations, which means the things that you need to pay, whether it's your GPL, because we can't go to GPL and say, very sorry, sir, I can't pay you this month. Please don't cut off my lights. That's not going to happen. You know you have your obligations, the things that you need to pay, whether it be your utilities, probably be your courts bill. We know that right now data becomes a necessity, so you have your internet bill that you need to pay. Once you have your necessities out to the way, the things that you need to pay, we will then focus on what some people call their spending. So they put aside money for entertainment. They put aside money for doing their hair, their nails. Men for probably buying clothes, buying shoes, boots, etc. And then when they're finished spending, then they're looking to see what is left, and then they try to save from that. My encouragement to you, everyone who's listening on this broadcast, make saving a priority item. Make saving one of the things that you need to pay, you got to pay, or else you'll be cut off. That is how you should treat savings. So whilst you're allocating monies to GPL, GTNT, to buy your credit, to buy food, etc., have savings right there, which means save first, spend later. And I'm seeing Rashini again, she's adding one thing that works for me is to make a list when I go shopping and purchase only what is on the list. So when I go shopping without a list, I'm tempted to buy things I don't really need. Most time when I'm going shopping, I only take the money I need. That way, even if I feel the urge to buy something else, then I can't because I don't have more money on me. An excellent way. So that Rishini takes massive self-discipline. Many of us, we are on that learning curve to really discipline ourselves, whether we have it, the money or not, or finding different ways to help train ourselves in that area of discipline where don't walk with the extra money. Have your list, only buy what is on the list, which means this requires us to really be mindful about what we need and when we're going to need it. So you can actually plan for the items that you need. So we want to make sure that we focus on saving as much as possible so that we can ensure that we save, make saving a priority. Right? Put aside, and I'm not saying that you need to save 30, 40% of your income. You need to determine what is going to be a healthy amount for you to save that will still enable you to live a fairly good life, but you can still put aside for that rainy day where you can start building your emergency fund. And I'm going to share a 10th one with you. I know I told you nine, but I'm feeling very, very generous. Tip number 10, it is very, very important that you learn more about this subject matter about managing your personal finances. So, one of the ways that you can learn more about managing your personal finances, you can take courses. There are many online courses. You can go to YouTube, you can Google how to manage your personal finances. But one thing I'm going to ask everyone to do who's listening on the call, who's enjoying the information, is to start implementing or adopting your personal budget. So what I'm gonna do, I'm giving you guys some. Thank you. I back to that. Okay, giving homework. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you guys how to use the resources you currently have to help you with creating your personal budget. So I'm gonna ask you to just send in the comments what are some of the items that you think should go on your budget, on your personal budget. So you can put that in the chat box. So we're going to be helping each other here. I'm going to show you a process that is easy and simple that can give you your personal budget. But I would love to hear from you guys that in the chat box just include what do you think are some of the items that should go on your personal budget. For the persons who are sharing this video, I would encourage you to put the hashtag catch me inside hashtag, that's the pound sign, catch me inside, so that persons out there who really need this information can actually have access to it. And you'll be providing them with a gift, which is the gift of knowledge, gift of education, which is one of the best things you can do. Because in our book, it is always learn before you earn. So, in order for you to earn more, you need to learn more. And in order for you to learn more, you first of all need to identify the areas that you need to improve in. And if you can't do that on your own, you can have mentors. You can reach out to me, message me on Facebook. I can provide you with some suggestions, ask you the right questions to find different ways that you can determine what it is that you need to learn, and then you find the ways to learn it. It means take action. One of our biggest downfalls is that we do not take action. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys to show you what is the technique that I use when it comes to creating my personal budget. And I'm going to ask you to take notes. You can follow from the video. And I'm going to share my screen with you guys today. So this is an Excel spreadsheet. Excel, I would love to give it props. You know, they're not paying me for this endorsement, but Excel is one of the most comprehensive uh, Microsoft app software that they have. Extremely extensive. You can do so many things in Microsoft Excel beyond our imagination. I don't believe that we have even begun to scratch the surface of how dynamic Microsoft Excel is. I absolutely love it. Now, when you open the Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, this is just a regular sheet. Now, persons can you can go in and you can begin to type in creating your personal budget. You can then type in the items for your budget. So whether it be you want to look at your income, so you can type in, sorry, let me put in headings first. So for income, you can put in your salary. Part of your income, you can put in monies you're earning from your talent. So it can be from baking. You can then put in as part of your income, overseas remittance, or if two persons don't want to use the big term, we can put the places we usually get the money from. So we can put Western Union or MoneyGram, etc. We can put all of those in as the income. So you can choose to create this on your own, or you can use my strategy. So I'm going to demonstrate that to you. If you put your cursor over sheet number one, let me see if I can bring my screen up a little so that we can get to see how much I can magnify this. All right. So just put your cursor over sheet number one, then you're going to right click. So when you right click over sheet number one, you're going to see the pop-up menu bar that comes up, and you're going to scroll to the top and you're going to click on insert. When you click on insert, you will see several different um, Microsoft Excel solution that comes up, but these are under what we call the general tab. So if you look here, you can see this is a general tab, and you have new worksheet, you can have charts, time sheets, you can take a tour of Microsoft Excel formulas. This is very, very extensive. There are 5 different tutorials on this tour. It really helps you to learn so much more about using the formulas in Microsoft Excel. But what I'd like you to click on would be the tab that says Spreadsheet Solutions, right here, Spreadsheet Solutions. And when you click on Spreadsheet Solutions, you have several different Microsoft Excel solutions as well. The one that I want to introduce you to is the one that is just under billing statement that is here. It is personal monthly budget. So when you click on the icon, personal monthly budget, you then come down to the bottom and click OK, or you can double click on the icon and it will open. So I'm going to click OK, and like magic, you have a complete format of a monthly budget, personal monthly budget, that has areas for almost everything that you can think about as it relates to our lives. I'm just going to do a quick run through. You have your income here area to the top. So income one, you have your extra income, gives you a total monthly income. And this is your projected versus your actual. So you can have a comparison happen here. You might have promise by maybe your aunt, father, somebody promise you, well, John, I'm going to send you 300 US at the end of the month. Then you put it into your budget, you're projecting to receive an additional 300 US dollars, which is about 60,000 Ghana dollars. And unfortunately, something happened. They're not able to do it. They're only able to send 150 US dollars. So in your projected, you had 60,000 as extra income, but for the actual, it was only about $30,000. So that way you can compare your projected versus your actual income. Those persons who are working, your salary can go here as your income. So don't look at this, oh, it's only businesses have budgets. Nope, individuals, especially if you really want to manage your finances, you should have a budget. It has all the major categories that we can think about. The first one is housing. So I know the video is a bit fine. I'm hoping that it shows up better on Facebook. But you have for housing. So on the housing, you have your mortgage, rent, phone, almost all areas you can think about. Transportation, insurance, food, for your pets. So some persons are animal lovers, really takes care of their pets. You have for your personal care, your hair, nails, clothing, etc. You have on the other side for entertainment, your loans, if you have to pay back loans, taxes, savings or investments. It definitely should be one of the areas you're focusing on. Any donations or gifts that you need. So this format is really, really extensive. I would encourage persons who are listening to make sure that you go access the personal budget and start putting in the information as best as you can. It will really help you to work on managing your personal finances. Right in the same sheet, you can just copy the information and paste it on the next sheet and continue with your personal budget. So, thank you, Rashini. Definitely one dirty bill down. I love that old cliche, old adage that we use. So put aside small amounts just to keep it moving is really, really important. You have your penny bank, and I'm saying Rashini is saying the same thing. Do not underestimate the value of a piggy bank. You have your piggy bank, you can save at home, you can have the community penny bank. as they call it. You can have your regular bank account that you have an account for savings, and you have your operating account. That's what I would encourage people to do. Have two bank accounts, one for savings, so you can actually do a standing order with one bank to send a specific amount of money at a specific date, a day of the month, to your savings account. So you don't touch that account. And one of the things that have worked for me is the other account that is my savings account, I do not have an ATM card for it, which means if I need to access those funds, I would need to actually go into the bank, which requires you getting time off, traveling, looking for parking, or if you're not driving, you have to walk to where the bank is. You have to sit and wait. So when I look at the activities, the as we call it, all the stress about going through of getting there, it really stops me from even entertaining the thought to touch that. So I would encourage you, have a separate account where you can use for your savings. Thank you, Ashraf, for putting the system down of how they can actually access it. So right click on the sheet, go to spreadsheet solutions. Thank you very much. Very, very good that you put that in there. So persons can go back and they can follow. I think I just went off there for a little. Yeah, so it's good that you put that in there, Ashraf, so that they can go back and follow through on those steps to make sure that they can access this particular format. So, guys, it has been an absolute pleasure having this conversation with you today. Thank you for all the persons who tuned in to our live broadcast. Please continue to like, share, love the video. If you have any additional comments, please make sure you can share them in the comment section so that we all can learn from each other. So, my home fund to you, to everyone listening, to persons who will be listening even after the live broadcast, follow the steps, create your monthly budget, prioritize on your spending, make sure that you are consistently reviewing the budget that you create so you can manage your spending. Ensure that when it comes to what you need to get done, work on developing a skill that you can earn income from. We call it our side hustle. See how best you can negotiate with any of your lenders, whether you're landlord, etc. As professionally as possible. If you need to ask for assistance from a family member to help you supplement your income, please make sure you do that. Put aside the pride, getting tongue tied. Start working on building your emergency fund. Work on that as best as you can so that you can be prepared for rainy days. And I can tell you something of this nature will happen again. If you look back at history, there is an average of the cycle that probably between every 7 to 10 years, some pandemic, some epidemic hits us, whether it's the crash of the housing bubble. We've had several different viruses from swine flu to H1N1 to Ebola. So we have to be very, very mindful that something may happen again, and we need to be as prepared as we possibly can. So, guys, again, thank you for tuning in. Thanks. Yes, Andre, definitely that has really worked. So if you can implement the idea of the savings without the ATM card, trust me, it will help you because your ATM card is like a mini temptation. You're going to be in a situation, you're going to tell yourself, I'm not going to trouble it, I'm not going to trouble it, I'm not going to trouble it. But the fact that you have that ATM card, it is so easy for you to just drive to an ATM and make that withdrawal. But if you have to think about going into the bank and lining up and waiting, it really deters you from touching your savings. So I trust, guys, that you got some good information today that you can use to work on your smart spending. I trust that everybody stays safe. Sanitize as much as you can. Let us do our part in ensuring that we can curb the spread of COVID-19 so that we can resume some part of our normal lives by coming out and work on your spending habits. When you do get back to a position where you're handling more income, again, reminder, please make saving a priority. Save first, spend later. Thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you very much to Ashraf and the Youth Ambassadors 2015. You guys are doing an awesome job putting together these video series. And to the past speakers, great job, guys. And to the future speakers, I know that you're gonna knock us out with some great information. So looking forward to that as well. Do have a great day, guys.